You're listening to today's inspirational message on the Proverbs with Bjorklund.
So Proverbs 11 pushes us to consider some things that could be dangerous or destructive in our own lives. And there's a proverb right here in verse 16 and 17 that seems a little off. A gracious woman gets honor, and violent men get riches. A man who's kind benefits himself, but a cruel man hurts himself. The wicked earns deceptive wages, but one who sows righteousness gets a sure reward. Whoever is steadfast in righteousness will live, but he who pursues evil will die. Those of a crooked heart are an abomination to the Lord, but the blameless ways are his delight. So several thoughts here that come together. The first is this idea of basically being somebody in verse 16 who gets ahead. The violent men get wealth. And I think what this is really driving at is it says that cruelty will have some short-term positive effects, but it will bring cruelty back into your life in one way or another. And so wickedness may pay now with some tainted gains, but righteousness sowed into any situation will bring a certain reward over time. And again, sometimes that may be longer than even this life, but there's certainly something to that to understand and see how God works in that. And so generosity is part of this as well, where you basically in verses not just kindness, sowing kindness into a situation instead of wickedness, but sowing generosity rather than stinginess. So verse 24 and 25 basically push the same idea of generosity, where it says, one gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. Whoever brings blessing will be enriched, and the one who waters will himself be watered. Here's this beautiful promise that basically points to this paradox. You become rich by being generous. Hoarding will result in loss, and you get refreshed by refreshing others. The more you and I give, the more we'll have. The more we hold on, the less we'll have. The more you focus on how can I refresh other people, the more you yourself will be refreshed. The expanded translation of verse 24 says, some people give much, yet get back even more. Others don't give what they should and end up poor. Verse 25, those who help others will themselves be helped. And so this is just this amazing picture of saying, don't choose to be violent to get ahead or stingy, but instead give of yourself freely and consistently. And what you will see is that God will open up in some ways the floodgates of your life and will bring more and more into your life. But the more you hold on, the harder it will be. And then he has this verse here about a crooked heart in verse 20. And the crooked heart, in some ways, we're told is an abomination to the Lord. And you say, well, what is crooked? Does it mean a lying one, a perverse? But I think what a crooked heart is somebody who turns something for their own agenda. And the tie here, in a sense, to the generosity and the evil is that when we turn things for our own agenda, it means we are always looking at things with twisted intentions or deceptive methods. And whenever that's true, what happens is we're trying to give, even though the text says when you give, you get more. And when you refresh, you get refreshed. But the twisted heart means we're not giving to give, we're giving to get. We're being kind to sow something in. And although that's a better motivation than not being kind, it has a sense of a crooked heart. And so the key here is not simply to say, well, I'm going to give so that I get from God, but to move in our lives in such a direction that we are drawn to say, I want to be generous because God has been so generous with me. And I am so taken with what Jesus Christ has done that I am generous and kind with what God has done because I know that he's been that with me. And in doing that, it's like this proverb just says, you will increase, but when you're stingy, when you're unkind, those things have a way of continuing to come back into your life. And I know this sounds a little bit like karma, And it's not karma, it's Proverbs saying there's just something in the world that works this way generally. But if you go at it simply saying this is what I want, is, put something into the world and I'll get it back out, then you actually won't get it back out because you're not doing it from a heart that is moved toward it. So today, will you choose kindness? Will you choose generosity wherever you are?
Thanks for joining us here today. There's a lot of great content to explore on Orchard Hill Plus and on the Orchard Hill main feed from the weekend. Have a great day.